Welcome back to Baking with Love. I'm Carolyn Stella, aka Stella, coming to you from the Peg Kitchen Studio with an episode I'm calling More S'mores. Most people know a traditional s'more is a graham cracker roasted over an open fire, sandwiched between graham crackers and chocolate. But for these three recipes, there is no campfire required. One, we're going to use the oven, one, we're going to use the stovetop, and one, we're going to use the fridge. So we'll talk a little bit about each one as we go, but can you guess which state is the most s'more-loving state in the country? If you're from Vermont, you may have already guessed. We're number one. Here's the top 10. Vermont, followed by West Virginia, Maine, Wyoming, Idaho, our neighbors New Hampshire, South Dakota, Minnesota, Indiana, and Kentucky. But not only are we the number one s'mores-loving state, we're in the Guinness Book of Records for the world's largest s'more. December 28th, 2019, in Middlesex, Vermont, people came together for what they were calling the Winter S'morestice, with homemade graham crackers, homemade chocolate, and homemade marshmallows. They created a 343-pound s'more that was 5 feet by 8 feet. So you can see, Vermonters are really serious about s'mores. Now, we're going to start with our s'mores bake, and I'll give you some more fun facts as we go. So our s'mores bake, before you got here, I coated an 8x8 square pan with a little nonstick cooking spray and preheated our oven to 400 degrees. For these, I'm going to use what I call large marshmallows, cut in half. But as you can see, there's a variety of sizes. These are monster marshmallows, giant roasters. These are kind of new, s'mores marshmallows. They fit great in between on your marshmallow. And then we've got the mini marshmallows, which we'll be using for our other two recipes today. You can use the whole large marshmallow in this recipe, but for Baking with Love taste test, we found it was a little marshmallow forward. So I cut these in half, just between the two flat sides. And our first layer is going to be the marshmallow halves. So I'm just going to line this baking pan with these halves already cut for you and go from there. While I do this, I can give you some more fun facts. The s'more was originally given to us by the Girl Scouts, you may have guessed. In 1927, the recipe first appeared in a Girl Scout handbook called Tramping and Trailing with the Girl Scouts. A woman named Loretta Scott Crew, a Girl Scout leader, is credited with the recipe, and supposedly the girls yelled, "We want s'more, we want some more, we want s'more," and it blended into the word s'more, S''M''O''R'. Now that word wasn't actually recognized as a word until 1974 when it appeared in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So that's where we get our traditional s'more from. And again, it's usually made with a marshmallow roasted over a campfire, milk chocolate. I'm feeling special, so I'm going to use some special dark chocolate today, and honey grams. So next layer. So we've got our marshmallow layer. Now we're going to put in some graham crackers, and you can just break these to fit. You can even use the rectangles if they're not already broken. So there's our graham cracker layer. And now we're going to put in, I'll get them all going pretty much the same way. That's a good fit. And now our chocolate layer. Again, we are using dark chocolate, but you can really use whatever chocolate you like. And again, I'm just going to kind of break these to fit in the corners. It's a really easy recipe, and like I said, you can do this anytime with or without a campfire around for people who like the flavor of marshmallow, chocolate, and graham cracker. Okay, there's our chocolate layer. Next, we're going to make our graham cracker layer again, and then we're going to top it with our cut large marshmallows and pop this into our 400 degree preheated oven. When it comes out, we're gonna drizzle it with a little melted chocolate. Before you got here, I melted some also dark, but again, you can use milk or semi-sweet morsels, the same way I melted them for the macaroons episode when we did the chocolate bottoms. That was 50% power in the microwave at 30-second intervals until it was a good drizzly consistency. So that is what's the topping for this. And this is great eaten right out of the fridge, warm and gooey, just like a real s'more. But if you do have any leftover, it's also great at room temperature. People say it reminds them of a moon pie. So if you don't have it all while it's hot and gooey right out of the oven, don't worry, it's delish at room temp, and also you can reheat it. But we want to bake it until the top marshmallows are a nice toasted golden color. So here is the last layer, and that one got away. Oh, and don't forget the most important ingredient, save the best for last. We've got to sprinkle it with a heaping cup of love. Okay, so now pop this in, and it usually bakes for, I'm putting it kind of in the middle, kind of up. You can know your oven. I'm going to set my timer. It's usually 8 to 10 minutes, but I'm going to set this timer for 7 minutes, and we'll give it a check because we don't want the marshmallows to get too dark. And we have our chocolate here waiting for us. Now our next recipe. Take my cup of love with me. So in this, these are S'mores Crispie Treats. They are a great cross between a Rice Krispie treat and a traditional s'more. So we're going to use a graham cracker cereal and mini marshmallows. In here I have 4 tablespoons of butter, and I'm just going to turn this on. The butter already started melting. I'm going to add 12 ounces or 1 bag. So the bags were traditionally 12 ounces, and now they are 10. So you can go with the 10, or you can open another bag and add a couple more ounces. But we've got 12 ounces of mini marshmallows, and I'm going to start by sprinkling in the love. So a couple of, and you can add that anytime, and we're going to let this melt and get to a really nice marshmallowy goo. Kind of medium to medium-low heat. So while the marshmallows melt, I can give you a little marshmallow history. So there is actually a plant in the mallow family that grows in marshes, hence the name marshmallow. It's a perennial, and it's related to hibiscus. And they use the roots especially and the sap, and this goes way back. They have records of this dating back to 2000 BC. Ancient Egyptians used the roots and the sap to make lozenges that were used for sore throats and coughs, and also for healing wounds, but they were reserved for royalty. So this was a pretty elite treat. The marshmallows more akin to the marshmallows we're using today kind of date back to France. Still using the plant, they whipped up egg whites and sugar, and kind of to make like a meringue, and then they added the extract from the marshmallow plant to make a confection sort of like what we are using today. And then the marshmallows we have, the actual plant product has been substituted, and now they use gelatin, although there are some very delicious vegan substitutes. So if you would like to substitute that, you can. So this is getting there. We had the 4 tablespoons of butter, and now we have the 10 to 12 ounces of mini marshmallows melting. I'm going to let that sit a little bit and talk to you about our graham cereal. So in this bowl, I have 5 cups of the graham cracker cereal whole. In this bag, I have 2 additional cups. So it's going to take 7 cups, but these 2 cups I crunch up a little bit. Not too fine, but definitely you can hear that breaking them up, crunching. And then I'm going to add this to this bowl, so when I do add it to my pot, of gooey melted marshmallow, we're talking the whole 7 cups. So let's give this another stir. And again, you want it to be smooth and all the way melted. And then we are going to add an additional ½ cup that won't get totally melted. And that's going to give a few bumps, a little soft texture with our crunchiness. And then we also in this recipe are going to add in some semi-sweet mini morsels and top it off with a few more mini marshmallows and a few pieces of chocolate bar. I'm using the snack size, and this time I am using milk chocolate. And did you know each one of these little sections of a chocolate bar is called a pip? So that's a pip. They also sometimes call people who are kind of audacious pips. Okay, I think we are ready to add I'm going to turn off the heat, so that doesn't take long. And again, you can't rush it. We already put our cup of love in, so that's kind of protecting it from scorching or burning. You have to work a little quick. Oh, also before you got here, this is going in a 9 by 13-inch pan that I sprayed with nonstick cooking spray, and I also sprayed the back of my spatula so that when I start to press down my crispy bars, hopefully my spatula won't stick too much. All right, so there we have our melted marshmallow butter concoction. The heat is off. I'm going to add our total of 7 cups of graham cereal and give it a good stir. We want it to be evenly coated, and oh, it kind of looks like cobwebs. There's a lot of graham cracker kind of threads as you mix. And then we're going to also mix in this, it's about a ½ cup, but you can see it's kind of heaping. ½ cup of mini marshmallows in addition to the melted marshmallows. And then once we transfer this to our prepared 9 by 13-inch pan, we can add our mini chocolate chips, and the mini morsels will melt a little bit, kind of like you want your chocolate in a real s'more, a little gooey. All right, so here comes our, one of those is going to get toasted for sure. It fell down by the burner. Here's our additional ½ cup of mini marshmallows. And now, what a gooey, delicious graham cracker marshmallow mess I am making in this pot. All right, here goes. We're going to transfer this to our prepared pan and start to distribute it evenly, kind of tamp it down into all the corners. The marshmallow, melted marshmallow, is pretty much the glue for these. If you've ever made them with other cereals, you know that these cereal bar treats, get that. All right, there we go. Scrape this and start to sprinkle in our every last gram. Sprinkle in our, this is a little less than a third cup. Oh, that's our 7 minutes. Let me give this a sprinkle and check our s'mores bake. That's ready to get pressed down. Stop the timer. Take a look. Oh, good. They need about 2 more minutes. So let me, because I said I'm setting it for 7, but usually it's 8 to 10. So I have time to, just enough time to get this in the pan. Really juggling my s'mores today, but I wanted to give you a lot of good ideas for all of your summer days, especially if you like s'mores and don't have a campfire. People really like s'mores. In fact, there's so many s'mores inspired treats. All right, I'm just going to push this down into all the corners with the mini morsels. There is, right now, I was just talking about this. There's s'moreos out there. Chapstick has had a s'mores flavor. Of course, there's s'mores ice cream, jelly beans, coffee drinks, snacks, other granola bars, and there's even been s'mores Pepsi. All right, now these marshmallows get just sprinkled on the top and just tapped in because it's still warm and they'll stick. So that makes a nice visual for our S'mores Crispie Treats. And then, again, it's also still warm, so they might melt a little bit, but we're going to sprinkle a couple of pips, these little pieces. These are milk. The morsels were semi-sweet, and we're going to just press these in, give the marshmallows a little tap. Some people will have them in their pieces, and some people will just have the mini morsels, but hopefully everybody will be happy. And that is S'mores Crispie Treats. And the marshmallows are all stuck, so we can't cut them yet because they're still too gooey, but from a previous batch, you can see the finished product. You can have them cut into squares, rectangles, big, small, whatever you'd like. And you can also half this recipe, make it in an 8x8 square pan like our s'mores bake if you'd like. But I don't know why you'd want to do that because they are so popular. So everybody loves them. You won't probably have any leftovers. And if you're having a big 4th of July, you might want to make 2 batches. There's our s'mores bake, hot out of the oven and a little gooey. So we'll turn off our oven. We'll check our melted chocolate, see if it's thickened up too much to drizzle. I think it'll work. So again, we made these morsels nice and melty, dark chocolate. We're just going to give it a drizzle. You can go side to side, you can go diagonally, you can go back and forth. Get some to drip off first. And I think I am going to just go back the other way, make it a nice visual. And then again, these are great right out of the oven, warm and gooey, as opposed to our Crispie Treats, which you want to let get to room temperature and set up a little bit. But if they do cool off, they'll also be great at room temperature or also can be reheated. There we have it. That's 2 out of our 3 s'mores alternatives if you don't have a campfire. S'mores bake, S'mores Crispie Treats. Now let's get to a s'mores recipe that doesn't need an oven, doesn't need a stovetop. In fact, all you need is a fridge and a hand mixer. So I'll move a few things around. I'm going to travel down to the north side of my counter for my mixer. As you know, I like to whip cream with cold utensils. So I have a cold bowl and cold beaters. So we are going to make a little marshmallow whip. So just like the other s'mores recipes that we've made today, the main ingredients are marshmallow, graham cracker, and chocolate. In this recipe, I'm using regular graham crackers, but you can also use chocolate grahams. You can also use cinnamon grahams or a combination of the 3. I'm using chocolate pudding, which I made before you got here, like I did in our trifle episode last month. I made the chocolate pudding, just an instant small box of pudding before you got here, just so that we could save a little time. And for our marshmallow, we have a marshmallow whipped cream. So I'm going to start with the cream. So this is called an icebox cake. Icebox cakes originated in the 1920s when appliance manufacturers were promoting their creation, the precursor to, these are my roasting sticks, the precursor to our current day refrigerator. Here's my chocolate pudding, the small box, 2 cups of cold whole milk with a box of chocolate pudding whipped up, and we're going to use that as one of our layers. And the icebox cake, yep. And then it was a variation on a trifle. So we did our trifle last month. Our marshmallow cream, graham crackers, and our marshmallow whip. So here we have our hand mixer. It's 1 cup of heavy cream, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and we measured those with our love tablespoon, so we'll put our love into this one as well. And we start by making soft peaks with our 1 cup of whipped cream. And then we will get them to stiff peaks with our sugar, and then we'll fold in the marshmallow whip. So it's going to make a little noise, but while it does, hopefully you can hear me, because now I'd like to tell you a little story about the graham cracker. So we had our marshmallow history earlier. Now, the graham cracker got its name in 1827, named after Reverend Sylvester Graham of Bound Brook, New Jersey. He was promoting a diet full of whole grains. There's our 2 cups of sugar measured with our loving measuring spoon, and we'll put in a cup of love. So we have love in all 3 of our s'mores recipes. Back to Reverend Graham. So he made this cracker to promote a diet rich in whole grains, but he marketed it as having a little extra bonus side effect, which was it was to reduce carnal appetites. So Sylvester graham cracker was the first anti-Viagra. I don't know if it worked, and I don't think any of our graham cracker manufacturers today are touting that as one of its side effects, but that's where the graham cracker came from. It's been around a long time. All right, we just need to get this a little stiffer. It's kind of still soft peaks now. And then this is 7 ounces of marshmallow cream, and we're going to gently fold that in. And then we will start to assemble our icebox cake. We're going to layer graham crackers, pudding, a few mini marshmallows, and the marshmallow whip. And we're going to keep going up until we get to the top of a 9 by 5 inch loaf pan. So before you got here, I lined it both ways with a little plastic wrap. So for our s'mores bake and our S'mores Crispie Treats, we use the nonstick cooking spray. But for this, we're going to line it, and it ultimately is going to be an upside down icebox cake. Because when we go to serve it, we're going to flip it, take off the loaf pan, take off the plastic, and have our s'mores icebox cake. So if you don't want to heat up your kitchen on a hot summer day, you don't want to use your oven, you don't want to use your stovetop, but you want all the great flavors of a s'more, graham cracker, chocolate, and marshmallow in a cool, creamy treat, this icebox cake is just what you need. All right, I know this is loud. There we go. We've got our heavy cream whipped into stiff peaks. We're going to add in our marshmallow cream, and it's a little gooey. There we go. And we're going to give this a light fold. You can kind of see the difference in the color between the whipped cream and the marshmallow cream, so you kind of know that it's evenly distributed throughout your bowl. One's a little different shade of white. All right, so we've got our chocolate pudding, we've got our marshmallow whip, we've got our cup of love in there. Time to build our cake. And we're going to need these. So here's our 9 by 5 loaf pan, our graham crackers. Now, I checked before the show, I had to shave down a couple of these sections to make it fit, but you do want a good layer on the top and the bottom. So these are the ones that, as my loaf pan comes up, it gets a little wider. I just used a knife and a cutting board, and I just sized them to fit. All right, so that's our first layer, that's our graham cracker, which is actually going to be our top, because like I said, we're going to flip it. So now we're going to make a layer of chocolate pudding. So about 1/3 of your chocolate pudding goes on top, and give it a nice even spread over your graham crackers. You might have some pudding left over. If you do, I would just put in a little ramekin and eat it like chocolate pudding. Okay, a sprinkle of mini marshmallows. That's going to give it a nice texture when people bite into it. One of the things I really like about icebox cake is when the graham crackers get all kind of mushy. It reminds me of an ice cream sandwich when you have the cookies of that get nice and soft. So we're going to spread some marshmallow whip on top, and we're going to do that 2 more times, and we're going to finish with a layer of graham crackers because that's going to essentially be our crust when we turn it over to serve it. Okay, keep your plastic wrap out of your way if you can. It should overhang a little bit more than this. All right, next layer, repeat. Graham crackers, chocolate pudding, a sprinkle of, these graham crackers are a little wider, so they should fit. A sprinkle of, just my first row needed a trim. A sprinkle of mini marshmallows, and another layer of marshmallow whip. And you just continue right up to the tippy top of your pan. You can use a metal loaf pan. I had the glass handy, so I thought it would be nice for you to see what was going on. But if that's what you have, just use it. And if you, some people also make icebox cakes in a 9 by 13 inch pan. Another sprinkle of mini marshmallows. Another smear of marshmallow whip. That's a nice generous layer. You can make them thicker, thinner. You can make them even. And like I said, you can also substitute other graham crackers for this. You can do it 1 of each, chocolate, cinnamon, and honey, or you can do all cinnamon, make a nice little kind of Mexican hot chocolate icebox cake, but ultimately it's a s'mores icebox cake because of the marshmallow and the chocolate and the graham cracker. Another layer of graham cracker. And this, it's getting wider up here. I think I can do 1 more. Should I try? That might be it. I don't know if I'll get all 3. That looks good. All right, but this has to stay in the fridge overnight. So we'll let this sit and we'll use our PEG TV time machine to go into the future. And as luck would have it, we have our 24 hours later, here we are in the next day, we have our icebox cake ready to plate. So let's hopefully get this out in 1 piece. Give it a try. So I'm going to put my plate over the top, flip it, hold the plastic wrap, get this out of the way so you can see. I don't know if I want you to see if it comes out okay. Try to get our cake to release. There you go. Voila. Remove, like the French, they had the marshmallows. Remove our plastic wrap. And since I have it handy, just to fancy it up a little bit, you don't have to do this. I'll just do a little drizzle of our melted chocolate. And I also, before you got here, I melted a few mini marshmallows. You could do this in your toaster oven. Hopefully they didn't stick. It's kind of a humid day. Or you could do this in your oven. You could also do it with a little mini kitchen torch if you have something like that for creme brulee. And I'm going to use this as my topper. Ooh, it's so gooey. On top of the chocolate will help it stick. And there you have a s'mores icebox cake. S'mores bake, S'mores Crispie Treats, S'mores Icebox Cake. I hope you have a very happy S'mores of July. Thanks for watching. Oh, and don't forget, all of these recipes are available on the PEG TV website. So I hope you'll make them and have a really s'morific summer. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time on Baking with Love.